House of Gucci is another movie where Adam Driver plays an awkward dude, and he's just so good at it, man. He's so good at just playing an awkward dude. He's an amazing actor in general, but he's so good at that very specific role, just a very awkward, not comfortable in his own shell kind of dude. He's almost as good as Lady Gaga playing a manipulative bitch, like she does in this movie. She makes Patrizia completely, like, bro, I'm talking unbearable. Like, I hated her the entire movie, and I think that's the point. But honestly, if this movie showcases half of what her real personality was like, I don't even know how Maurizio put up with her for more than a month, like, tops, bro. Like, that shit is insane. Like, I know dudes think with their dick, but like, there's gotta be a limit at some point, bro. You gotta, know your worth, King. Know your worth. The movie takes leaps through time, sorry, to cover the different events that kind of shaped, Maurizio and Patrice's relationship, and it's all good. But the jumps are a little jarring at times, and they're not exactly clear as to how much time has passed. Sometimes they'll put dates and years, and for very specific events they'll put like even the time at some points, and it's like it's good, but in between that all the other cuts don't have those timestamps. So sometimes it's kind of hard to tell, like, was there a long period of time, was there a short period of time. Like, you'll see their kid as like a baby, and then at some point you see their kid as like much older, and you're like, okay, how much time just passed? It seemed like the last scene, which is directly connected to this one, happened right away, but then there's like a clear large amount of years that passed in between these two events. But it doesn't happen too often, but it does happen at some points where the jump through times are a little bit jarring, and as a result some of the actions taken by the characters feel a little extra sometimes, especially in Patricia's case. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and act like can't understand why she turned out the way that she did, but damn, she became crazy real quick. Like, she was crazy to begin with, but like, she went real crazy real quick. That's all I'm saying. For the most part though, the story does follow a clear path, but I just feel like it skims over some parts for the sake of telling the story in a timely manner, which I can respect, honestly, but it's still obviously affects how clear the story is told, right? Compile that with the fact that they don't always tell you how much time has passed, and sometimes you're just kind of lost if you don't have like already preconceived notions or just knowledge of this whole tragedy that happened with the Gucci's, right? For example, there's like 5 minutes of the movie left when Maurizio gets murdered, and in those 5 minutes, they manage to fit in Patricia's conviction. There's just not enough time to tell that very important part of the story that they just kind of gloss over in the final 5 minutes because they wanted to tell some other unimportant shit. Like, this is obviously a main part of the story, the conclusion to the story, and you skim over it. And it's just kind of, I don't know, it's like, I guess the most known fact about this whole thing that happened with the Gucci's is the conviction of Patrizia. But as someone like me who didn't know anything about that shit, it just feels like weird, and again, like I said, I'm judging this as a movie, not as a recreation of real life. So to me, this just feels weird. I'm not supposed to have to fill in the blanks with my own knowledge of outside shit that happened, which this movie is based on. I don't know, I'm just going to watch a movie, right? And you can say it's my fault, you can say I'm supposed to educate myself beforehand, but I'm just watching a movie. A lot of people, they're just watching a movie, they're not trying to get a history lesson. But anyways, Jared Leto is in this movie, if you guys haven't noticed. Because I sure as fuck didn't notice, because he's completely unrecognizable as Paolo Gucci. I didn't even know he was in it until the credits rolled. I saw his name and I was like, what? I thought he was somebody else, and then I looked up who he was in the movie, and I'm like, wow, he was Paolo. And speaking of Jared Leto, his performance is kind of trash. To be honest, his performance was kind of bad. It feels like a caricature more than a serious portrayal of a character. And basically, just like, imagine every Italian stereotype and amplify them by 20. And you know what? Do that for the entire movie, and that gives you House of Gucci. Just Italian stereotypes on top of Italian stereotypes. Some of these accents too are kind of bad. They're a little bit offensive. I think especially Jared Leto's is a little bit offensive, but or not offensive, but it's a little bit too much to the point where it reaches like caricature levels, just like clowning levels. It doesn't even seem serious. You know what I mean? And I've said this in the review for King Richard, but if you haven't seen it, like I said, I don't rate these based on their accuracy to reality, but this movie really makes the Gucci's look like monsters. And listen, I'm not about to defend the multi-million-dollar empire, okay? I'm not doing that, but damn, these people are all fucking demons in this movie. Like, just they're turning on each other left and right every chance that they get. And the movie tries to make you think that it's all Patricia's fault, you know, she's the one that kind of turned them all against each other, but really these people are all assholes way before she even does anything. Like, they project an aura of kindness within their family to each other. Like, no man, these dudes are all assholes. It's just not fun to watch. Everybody's a dick to each other, and then, you know, they'll come back and they'll be like, oh, you know, I'm sorry, let's make amends, blah blah, and then they fucking shit on each other again. Some things I don't even understand, because like, they seem like they backstab each other, but then, oh no, actually it was Patricia that kind of, you know, set it in motion. Like, it just seems a little confusing sometimes who is really bad. Is it actually the Gucci's, or is it Patricia that kind of made the Gucci's turn on each other? It's a little bit confusing at times. Wish it would have been a little clearer. For sure there's Patricia has a part in it, but I feel like the movie's not exactly clear on where this stems from completely. Last thing I'm gonna say about this movie, because I don't know if you could tell, I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but one other thing that kind of bothered me was the music choices, because they were weird. They were so weird at times. Like, it just feel like they didn't fit with any of the scenes. It was like kind of like this 80s 90s pop music, which is like fine, but it was played at such weird times, and it just didn't fit the vibe of the movie. I'm not really sure how to explain it, but if you see it, I hope I'm not the only one that noticed it, but it just feels weird. It just gives a weird vibe to the movie that doesn't really fit it, in my opinion. I'm gonna give this movie a grade. It will not be a good one, unfortunately. It will be a C grade. I'm not sure if I ever gave this low of a grade. This movie is not trash. It's not the greatest movie ever. It's just the best thing about this movie are Adam Driver's and Lady Gaga's performances. Like, they really carry this movie hard, and it's convenient because they're the two main actors that you'll see on screen for about 90% of the movie. But there's so much meh around them that, you know, they can't carry everything up to a B or an A. So a C is all this movie deserves.